Being
What's up,
recorded.
everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the One More Rep podcast. I'm your host. My name is Joseph Percher. With me, my good friend Austin Brown. Before we get rolling, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, leave us a comment, share it with a friend, ring the bell so you're notified when the channel posts updates. Besides the weekly podcast, I do weekly prep vlogs, so check that out. The most recent one was a full day of eating. I know people are interested in that for whatever reason, so go check that out. Give you some insight as to where the diet is right now. And with that, Austin Brown, are you ready to talk some training or what, dude?
Yeah, I like this topic. It's fun,
Yeah.
and it just gets so many different thoughts going too. So it's a good one, and it's one people care about.
I mean, it's probably the one that most of us care about the most. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the one thing, even more than getting on stage, more than even PEDs, for example, because there are some people that are completely natural. Everybody trains. Anyone that's
well,
going to listen to this or click on this, everybody trains.
yeah, and I tell people that all the time. Like without the training, literally not a single part of anything you're doing matters. Right, the stimulus
No.
is the beginning domino of it all. Right, and then
Yeah.
so without that, nothing matters. So in essence, it is the most important part of bodybuilding.
I agree. I've heard it. I've heard someone say, I can't take credit for this. I don't, and you know what? I'm not going to be able to give credit to who it was, but it's a great quote. I've heard it described that training is the match that starts the fire for everything else. Right. So
Yeah. Yep.
with that, let's get right into it. So a lot of people are in prep right now, or maybe people are just finishing shows. So somebody asked how to transition your training from prep into a rebound, and then from there into the off season.
Well, I guess that saying a rebound is predetermined. I don't think that's like always the way you should come out of a prep. I know you run that pretty often, but
if you want to be big, yeah. I'm just kidding.
But no, I hear you. But obviously at the end of prep, like volume should be very baseline.
Yes.
Your recoverability is zero essentially, unless you've had this prep where you were already 8 weeks out and you reverse dieted perfectly into the show and you've been able to drop off fatigue and raise training volume and all this stuff, and that's super rare. So likely you're going to be doing hardly anything in the gym at the end of prep. So I do advise that. Like, I do like to take that first week out of prep for a lot of people. If it's been a long one and I know we've pushed it pretty hard, I will give that I'll treat that as kind of a deload week, to put that initial 5% body fat or body weight back on, and then from there kind of get back into things at a baseline volume. Like, I would have a new split design based on the analysis that you ran at the end of prep, saying, okay, now that the fat's off, where do I need to get better? So use that time period to tweak your training to a more prioritized setup to what you need to improve upon, and then start that at a baseline, very recoverable volume. And as food comes in and you're feeling better and better and the weeks go on, titrate that volume up to wherever recovery's holding up to be. That's going to be different for everybody and everybody's accuracy within their training and so on and so forth. From there, say you rebound out of the show. Well, I'll use the example, androgens are involved. Maybe you do that for 8 weeks, and bring the androgens down. You maybe titrate that peak volume, back down, maybe around 30%.
Yeah.
Drop out some intensifiers if you're using them, pull a set off them to move some movements around that are a little more taxing. And then you're pretty much going to rinse and repeat the same.
That's it.
Steps you did show. So that was a little bit of long-winded answer, but that's pretty much how I would set it up.
Great info. Let me ask you before I even get into my answer, because a lot of the things are going to be similar to what you said. How do you typically structure or want clients to think about training during peak week? So let's say like you said, it's a very rare situation that somebody was ready at 8 weeks out, and then we just spent 6 weeks reversing, and they feel fresh as a daisy going into the show. Very rare, very
Sure.
very rare.
Yeah.
In most situations, like that person is pretty heavily fatigued going into that final week. Are you dialing things back a bit? Are you someone that is like full send it up until Thursday before the show? Like I hear so many different things.
That's a really good question, and you do see this is one you don't hear a lot about, and I would say like so many coaches do this different, right?
Yeah.
Um, so
And I feel like
used to,
individually bodybuilders like have a emotional attachment to doing it different. Like I
yeah,
can think off the top of my head, it seemed like a lot of the guys, um, I think naturally a lot of the guys that gravitated towards like Matt Jansen when he was in his prime as a coach, it seemed like all those guys were training crazy Wednesday and Thursday before a show, like refuse to back down mentality, right? And then, you hear from maybe people that are a little more rational or thoughtful about things, and they're somewhere in the middle. I mean, I think depending on the prep, there's probably a line that you don't want to go under in terms of like bare minimum. But yeah, I'm just curious where, like in an average setting, like, someone's pretty beat up and you're trying to make sure they come back to life a little bit in the couple days before the show. What's the final week look like for you?
I will typically do one of two things, and I've been leaning more towards the other recently. The first thing being like I will have people push reps until like failure or quasi failure, like throughout prep, and
Mm-hmm.
just titrate amount of total work being done. So the intensity, I don't really try to say, hey, like I don't give any RPE scales or anything like that because your judgment of that when you feel like shit's going to be really terrible. So give it all you got.
Yeah.
um,
Which might
but
not be much.
which yeah, it's not going to be much. But in both peak week scenarios, I come down to like a deload type of approach where I'm telling them, hey, like I want 3 to 4 reps in the tank.
Yep.
And I'll do one of two things. I'll either do like an upper lower circuit
Mm.
beginning on like it's usually like Sunday, Monday. So I'll do like upper one day, Monday, lower, and then I'll like take Tuesday and repeat it upper, lower, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday will be off. Or sometimes I will start
Mm.
that on Monday, and Thursday will be the final
Training day.
training day for a Saturday show. And again, that's like it's basically just like getting in there to like move a little bit, but like
That's it. Put the food to
it's
use.
yeah, it's super far from failure because I'm trying to drop off fatigue, I'm trying to improve sleep that week, and I'm trying to get the food to do what it needs to do. I don't want you just burning through it and using it as a recovery. We're trying to, drop that fatigue layer off. But the second thing I typically have been doing lately is I don't just leave their workout plan as it is,
Yeah.
and then just drop that, do the same thing. Hey, we're going to do your split this week, but it's going to be, 3 to 4 reps in reserve, starting on whatever day, kind of how their split just lands. And I'll typically have that final training day either Wednesday or Thursday.
Let me cut you off. So then let's say someone typically trains legs on Thursday. Are you going to readjust it?
Yeah, good question. So like the final leg day, I would adjust that and just have them like repeat like an upper day
Yeah,
from
yeah.
early week. Usually final leg day is anywhere from 6 at the closest, but typically between 7 and 10 days out for me.
Yeah. That's like real deal leg day, you're saying.
Yeah, like give me all you
Yeah.
got leg day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
7 to 10 days out.
So starting from the beginning with me, it's very I basically am telling someone to do a deload week, to think about it like a deload week, because I don't think a lot of people even have a grasp on how to do that, even when you explain it to them. So at least putting it in that term, there's going to be some type of lifting of the foot off the gas, which is ideally what you want, whatever that means to that individual person, because there's like a balance. Like you said, you want to put the food to use. You still even want like a little bit of like intramuscular inflammation. Like you don't just want to rest the whole week, obviously, or be able to fall asleep in the middle of your training. But also you don't want to be, I really, I've done it so many ways with myself and with people that I've prepped that I've come to the idea that I just really am not a believer in someone approaching it like just any other week. It's not like it's a peak. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get you to look the best that you could possibly can on Saturday. Um, and there needs to be that removal of fatigue for someone to look fresh and feel. I think feeling good and being in a good mood on Saturday is important as well.
Huge.
Because I've gone into Saturdays still beat up to where it almost felt like there was no, lifting of the foot off the gas, and it wasn't a great experience. I didn't look great, and it just wasn't a great experience. You feel like you're still in the depths of prep instead of feeling like it's like a celebration of what you've done.
Well, and
Um,
particularly for bodybuilders, where we need to be able to pose really well that day. And
100%. Like it's
if
a
you're carrying,
performance. That day is a performance.
yeah, and if you're carrying leg fatigue, like good luck keep turning your legs on the way you're supposed to and showing the detail.
Yeah. So for me, for most guy bodybuilders, male bodybuilders, the closest to the show that I'm doing legs last is probably Monday. It depends on what type of frequency they were doing legs with. If
Yeah.
someone was doing twice a week, I'm okay with Monday or Tuesday as long as I talk to them and they're mindful of what they're doing. If someone like, I have some people that I think set it up on purpose to where every Saturday is leg day and it's a gauntlet full leg day and it's just once a week, then your last leg day is the Saturday before the show. And I'm just going to
Mhm.
leave that alone. Um, with Kels, it's a little bit different being wellness. She trains at such a high frequency for legs. And it's pretty much, I mean, she does 3 leg days, 1 upper day. And the upper days, she would tell you it's not much to speak of in comparison to the 3 leg days. So I will have her do like a deload leg workout Thursday because most of the week was managed to allow that. Like she'll train Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, final leg light touch up on Thursday, off Friday, and then she'll go. But for male bodybuilders, especially if you are training like it's your last leg day, probably a week out in most situations, like that Saturday before the show. Now, like we said, I like almost to think about it like a deload. I'm usually writing out exactly what I want someone to do. Like a lot of times that, especially Thursday, even Wednesday or Thursday, whatever the last workout day is, it is almost just like a generic upper day. Or if the person's really beat up, it would just be arms. But it's like 1 or 2 sets of everything. And I tell them like, get out in 45 minutes. It should feel almost like a waste of time. Um,
You almost look at it as like a circuit, right? It's
circuit.
like,
I've said that to people too, especially if it's like a upper day. It's almost like pick one movement for the 4 body parts and then just go through it like in like a kind of a casual circuit. I don't want them to burn through it like they're doing fucking the Olympics or something. But
yeah, it
yeah,
should be
it's kind of
fast.
it kind of forces a little bit of an upper body pump, even though the weights and the intensity are less, and then you just go and get out. So then, from my perspective, in terms of where do I start the rebound, it's probably somewhere in between, like just letting it rip, and somewhere like where you were mentioning almost treating that week like a deload. It's somewhere in between there. It's not full throttle training, and it's definitely like bare bones volume. And I'm mostly telling people to not even, that is the time to, like you said, assess where your stage physique really left you and what's needed. So you should be putting your split together, but also that week should be about finding the actual movements and the order that you're going to do it in. So it's kind of a wing it week. Like go in, don't really, I don't want you to track anything, and you're going to find what movements you like, what ones you don't. And then by the end of that first week, collectively, we're going to have an idea like this is the movements that I really like. So then based on the needs of your physique, this is the the order that makes most sense. I think week 2, as long as the person is like reporting that they feel awesome, they're excited to train, you know what I mean? Body weight has come back up, fluid retention has come back in to where you don't feel like dry and vulnerable. It takes somebody being honest about that. But for the most part, it's like, okay, bring your sets at this point near failure or to failure, not beyond. I don't want anything crazy. And then it's just a gradual progression. Like week 6, especially if you're treating it like a rebound where there's like androgens in, at that point, you're being more aggressive with food because drugs are still in. Week 6 is almost like you're going into it like it's the off season. Like you should be full blown and like you're
The
getting
high,
after.
yeah,
Yeah,
high
yeah.
volume, it should peak out.
And then like you said, so you rebound out and then go into a cruise. There should be a slight reduction from whatever that peak volume was, because then it's like, drugs are going to be less. Food should probably even be a little bit less just to keep you from getting crazy soft. If you were, I've done like aggressive rebounds with food during that rebound period that drugs are still pretty high. You don't want to just keep food there because someone's going to get pretty soft. I would get pretty soft. So
Yeah, I
then
mean, I'm
it's just a
actually doing
reduction.
that.
That your GI might be in an inflamed spot if you're pushing tons of food, like at the end of an 8 or 10 week rebound, something like that. So I think there's just a relief that comes with, like, you just did a full prep and then a really dedicated rebound of a lot of food and hard training. There's a relief in doing less drugs. There's a relief in eating less food.
Yeah,
And then training volume, of course.
that's literally where I'm at right now, and it feels
Yeah.
fantastic. I was like,
Yeah.
I was to the point where I was like,
Yeah.
I just want to relax for a minute.
Now you
you
were
know?
doing pretty low like volume. So how are you managing this then? Are you just like more wise with intensifiers or movement selection?
Yeah, so um,
More conservative, I should say, than wise, but
I haven't got there yet because like the first 2 weeks after I come off cycle, I still feel plenty
you still
fine.
feel it on. Yeah.
Yeah, so but after that, it'll be like I will start stopping sets just like very close to failure, but not
Yeah.
like driving myself in the ground and any
Yes.
partials or any
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so um, that's pretty much all I'll do because I train really low volume even at like my highest volume.
So
So
let me use that as a transition to the next one then. So someone writes in, and this is not a great question because it's not necessarily even a question, but it's a topic for us to discuss. So this guy writes in and says more detail on intensifiers, when to use them, which ones do you use, how much, etc. So he's asking all things intensifiers,
okay,
and I'm
well,
interested to hear your perspective too, because it's we all have a different one.
yeah, I mean, I admittedly like use a lot of intensifier techniques in my training programs, but like the biggest thing like have you have to understand with intensifiers is that it's an extension of a set. So we must end that first set, and when I say end the first part of it, it needs to be like you can't do any more of it.
Right.
An intensity technique other than a cluster set should be after you actually hit mechanical failure in the first part of
Yes.
the set. And people kind of like drop sets are a good way to like kind of trick people into training hard because they'll like accidentally fail on a triple drop set because they literally like die, and that's like
And then
hard to
what
them.
doesn't move anymore? Yeah.
Right, but that's like how you should learn to train without intensifiers, and then
Yes.
now you can utilize these intensity techniques to extend the set. So, the reps that kind of matter in training are those ones near failure. So, say you do a set of 8 to 12 and you get 10, and so now you had like 3 or 4 reps there that were a very good stimulus. An intensity technique, instead of doing another straight set, say you use a drop set and you get 6 and there were 4 more good stimulating reps there. So it's a way of titrating volume upward. So if your recovery is great, instead of adding a fourth set onto a movement or a second set or a third set wherever you were at, just add on an extension of a set, and now you're stacking on X amount of stimulating reps to that body part per workout. So they're great, man. Which one to use is, I kind of like have my favorites for certain types of movements. But like common ones I use are drop sets and rest pause are like my two that I'll mainly use. And I'll use
Let me
like,
stop you there. So you had mentioned cluster sets as well. I think one thing about bodybuilding is a lot of times we're all using these terms, and then sometimes we mean different things or
sure.
slightly different things. So to you, like when you say a cluster set, what do you mean?
Yeah. So like rest pause and cluster is extremely similar, but um,
Are you
a
doing
cluster.
clusters like these like clusters of four, say, or something like that?
Yeah, so how I'll typically run a cluster is like it is a designated number of reps.
Yeah.
But like I will always be like I will either do like two clusters and then a failure, or I'll do three clusters and a failure. So like three reps, three, fail.
Fail. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Versus a rest pause would be I'm going to do as many reps as I can, rest, get as many reps as I can. So that might look like 5, 3, 2, 1, and
Yeah. Oh
maybe
yeah.
yeah, so that's the difference. But it doesn't matter. Like the idea is stimulating reps. A rest pause is going to do that. A drop set's going to do that. Any of these intensity techniques are going to do that. So it's kind of like, what's it? The movement is you don't want to do a rest pause set on a barbell back squat. Like think of
What's
that.
practical? What's practical? What's safe?
Yeah, do things that are, do it on machinery work where it's
Yeah.
very safe and practical. The drop set is a little safer feeling than like a rest pause or something, unless you're like
Oh, for
curling.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so those things are all to consider, but I think that pretty much covers most of that.
I think two things from what you said. The point that it's like movement dependent is huge. That is like first and foremost, what are you doing? What movement are you doing?
Right.
Um, and then the point overall that the idea is just to get you to more stimulating reps sooner, I think is a great idea. I know like the our friends over in the science community are not big fans of intensifiers, but if we're going to use their logic against them, so to speak, I think intensifiers are actually a great way to limit what they would probably deem as unnecessary fatigue by getting more
Rid
quickly to the source of
You're getting
these
rid of all
stimulating
these
reps.
you're getting rid of these preliminary reps that you're just
Yes.
basically those are just literally prerequisites to the part of the set that fucking matters. So yeah, it's almost like it hedges itself, right?
And also, this is not even a preferred method of mine, but hearing you talk about drop sets, I think that might even be like the ultimate science version of an intensifier because one, you're more quickly getting to these stimulating reps, but each time it's with lesser load, which would mean less fatigue, right? So if I'm going to put my dork goggles on and talk this through, like that's how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Um, my mind has like everything else, and it's so funny because I think with training, this point is more pertinent than any of the other aspects or pillars of bodybuilding. Where every time I have a really good in depth training conversation with someone that has been in it for a long time, or coaches, or been bodybuilding, or whatever the case is, knows training, someone like you, when I would talk with Tommy Styles about training, um, when I talk to Eddie, for example, he's a guy that watches the show. Um, Different people come to mind, but when I talk training, when I, used to talk with John or whatever, there's so many things that like, in your here and now, we're all in a different spot with what we like and what we use and whatever. And then you have a conversation with someone and it brings you all the way back around to this thing that you used to do 6 years ago. And then you're like, wow, this is still super relevant and would be awesome to put back in or whatever the case is. Like it all works. I remember we had we talked with Joey Cavalier one time, Tommy Styles and I. He's a new IFBB pro. I think he won the super heavies at North Americans this past year.
Okay. The
And
name is
he's Joey Quads on Instagram.
Yeah.
or was, or at one point he was, and for good reason. He has insane legs. So unlike most of these dorks that you see with some type of quad father, quadzilla nickname, he has probably 36-inch quads, like when he's in shape.
Okay.
But he had a great quote that I constantly come back to. And he said, like, in regards to training, everything works, nothing works forever. Where it's like, you don't necessarily want to get it down the rabbit hole of confusing the muscle. The pillars of progress still stand, that there needs to be like tracked progressive stimulus. But in terms of how you get there, or what it is that you're using to get there, you can always come back around to different stuff. So long story short, that's my way of saying I've had different opinions over the years based on where I am about intensifiers. When I was probably in like an intermediate stage of my own competing years, I was a huge advocate for rest pause, like Dante style, like 3 attempt, timed
Oh, yeah.
rest, 20 or 30-second rest, and then right back to it. And I can always think like, man, I can't tell you how many times I died in a leg press doing like a triple rest pause attempt. And I'm convinced, like, because I would do that and then like extensions and lunges, and like every time I got on stage, people are like, your legs are your best body part. So it's like not that much. If like I've written that same plan out for people, and then 3 weeks into it, they're like, hey, is that it for legs? And then I'm like, you're not doing it right. Like, film it and send it to me, because you're not doing it right. Um,
That's it,
but
man.
like, it goes back to what you were saying about what movement are you doing. Like, so for me, like a leg press is something I'm locked into it, and I would usually always do this with a spotter or even two spotters, depending on how heavy the initial like loading was. But it would be something where you're gonna, for me, like on this example of leg press, I would like to fail somewhere between like 12 to 18 the first time, rack it, breathe for 20 seconds, time it 20 seconds, because it's going to be a lot quicker than what you think, and then go again, and you might get 6 or 8. Rack it again, 20 seconds, and then go, and you might only get 3 or 4 that third attempt. You know what I mean?
Very stimulating, though.
Bro, you don't need to do anything else for legs. Like, maybe get extensions and some body weight walking
Well,
lunges. I did that for years.
yeah, I mean, and that's it's a tenet of most of my training style too, is that same setup, but it's knowing the individual and where they're at, from a maturity
100%.
standpoint in bodybuilding. Because like, I think of that quote you mentioned, and it's like I almost like twist it and look at it a different way. Um, it's like everything continues to, like, things work, but like your style changes because you get a lot better at training and more accurate. Like, I
Yes.
used to have to throw the book at it to get stimulus. Now I
Oh
like
yeah.
a long time I'll do one working set for movement and I'm fucked. Like I
So that
couldn't
was
do
what I
that.
was getting at. So I used to do all that, and then I got to a point for years where I was like, I only do straight sets. That's like my most recent history. Is for me personally, I don't do any intensifiers. This past off season, like out of my rebound cruise and then into an off season, I got back into some intensifiers a little bit, because I was doing a lot of volume, and I'm like, man, I could condense this like to get the same effective reps, like you were saying, but with like less just time in the gym. Like, I don't need to be here for 2.5 hours to do
The
arms.
huge benefit of them as well.
Yeah. And so for something like arms or something like that, like if I'm doing cable curls, like a dual high cable curl or something, I will usually finish my last set with a drop set or something like that, where it's like, I finished with a set of 80 pounds for 9 reps, and then I'm going to go to 70 pounds, and I might get 8 to 10 again or something like that. Right. I think it just depends on the movement, like you had talked about. So in terms of when, though, I think it depends how much you were doing in the off season, because at a previous time in my life, I might have told you never do intensifiers in contest prep. It's the dumbest thing ever. I've come to realize that someone like yourself might have built in so many intensifiers in their off season that it would be a huge initial stimulus reduction right off the bat if you just took that stance and said from day one of contest prep, I'm not doing any intensifiers. That might take out half of the stimulus you were getting, which just doesn't make sense. So as a black and white statement, that doesn't make sense. So it depends on how much you've built in. If you've built in a decent amount of intensifiers in the off season, at some point those are probably going to be the first thing to come out, but that's not to say you can't do them in contest prep. So I think it just, the context is king, as my friend Tommy Styles would say. Context is king. If you were doing none in the off season, I don't think it makes any sense to do any in contest prep. I don't think you should start adding it when your recovery budget is lower. However, if you were doing some or a ton in the off season, it should just gradually work its way down the same way that the number of straight sets that you did gradually worked down. So I've come back around, and I try to be a little more open-minded about things. I've kind of reached a point where I would never say never about the majority of things in bodybuilding senses, other than maybe like DNP and Lasix.
Yeah, I mean, it's very individual, but yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. Like that's exactly my style. Is I just reverse engineer the process, and
Yeah.
they slowly go away, and then maybe 6 weeks out when we're very lean, like they're gone, and it's straight sets only. And then coming out of prep, they come back in, more straight sets come in, and that's how I don't really change movements or styles or anything. It's just like
Right.
how I'll titrate, volume up and down.
And they're fun. Like at the end of the day, like, we can dive into like the technical X's and O's, but like I know people that just enjoy it. I don't know anyone, actually, when I say that, I don't know anyone that wouldn't enjoy doing like a run the rack drop set of curls, or a cable curl that you do multiple drop sets on, and you just
Right.
end up with a skin splitting arm pump. Like who doesn't enjoy that? So if it's
Yeah.
something that you enjoy, I would caution you to be thoughtful with when you're doing it. It should make sense, especially if you're a competitor. If you're a competitor and you're in contest prep and the goal is to look really good on stage, be mindful. Don't be a meathead for no reason. But for the most part, like when recovery is available to you and your recovery budget is high, if you enjoy something, do it. It's fine. Track it, make it part of your routine, and
Do it hard.
fucking send it.
That's it. I do love the point you made about efficiency, though. That's something it's great if you have an hour to work out a day because you got 12 kids and work 10 hours or something. Like supersets and drop sets. Great.
That, and
Great
if
idea.
that's the case, if you have 12 kids, you're probably natural too, and you can't be doing too much shit in the gym.
Yeah.
But it's sure it's a great way to, it is a great way to be more efficient, like especially on like something that's like a locked in machine. I think of like lateral raises as well, because I'll get up to a point, like that was my thought this past off season. I got up to a point where I'm like starting to work out with 5 straight sets of lateral raises, and they're all
Fuck that.
15 plus, and it's like, I'm in this like super stable, locked in, seated machine. And then I got to a point where I'm like, I'm just going to rest pause this motherfucker until it doesn't move at all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Little body parts in particular are usually where they come in
yes.
first. Things that
Yeah.
have a high recoverability, delts, any arm movement, leg extension or something is a good one too. But yeah, I mean, you can combine intensifiers too. You can do a drop set and then rest pause the single drop, and it's just like
That, and we didn't talk much about it, but I had a point where I did cluster sets. I remember Patrick Tour talking about cluster sets a lot, and it
yeah,
can be a great way to do it. Like the way that I would do it is I would pick like a main machine movement. Like I can think of really attacking like a machine shoulder press in this way. So I would keep the same load. If I got 12 the first time, my idea in my head was that I'm going to beat that number in 4 attempts. So I would do like, basically 4 4 4 and then fail, like you said. And it's timed, again, probably shorter rest periods, like 10 to 15 seconds. And
yeah,
that's kind of what forces you into getting into those like stimulating reps. But then it's like, okay, this is where I was at in terms of max output on a straight set. And then I'm going to beat that with a with the help of a cluster. Another point you had just mentioned, like with small body parts, I think about it even in terms of like this can intensifiers, especially in the off season when you're trying to improve a weak body part on your physique, I think could be awesome
Yeah,
because
normal.
especially like you said, if it's a smaller body part, if it's legs or back or something, like you're gonna have to be more thoughtful about how it fits into your whole plan. But like, there's been times I've really tried to bring up my arms or my delts, and it's like you can really fucking send it, especially when it comes to intensifiers on body parts like that, and they're going to recover just fine. It's not an like the overall cost of something like that is not very high compared to a drop set on a hack squat or a triple rest pause on a leg press.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean that's just using the logic around it, and um, where's it make sense. So whoever asked that could reach out to us, and we would
It's a
help.
client of mine. I think he's trying to get our brains working and get us talking a little bit. So
I think
um
it's something that I guess I realized people didn't have more awareness around, and kind of what they are, and what they do, and
well, you know
what
what's interesting? I think like anyone that's, I don't want to say new to training, but anyone that's like heavily influenced by the latest and greatest on social media in the last 2 to 4 years,
ah,
it's intensifiers are completely blasphemous.
wow.
So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a whole group of people that just like either don't know anything about them or just have never done them because Paul Carter told them never to do them.
It's crazy, man. Yeah.
This is a fun one. How do you foresee your training style slash goals changing once you retire?
We've talked about this, which is funny. Like off air, I'm pretty sure, or maybe it
Have
was
we?
on. Yeah, because you told me you're never fucking training legs again.
I would never do legs, dude. What the fuck? I would never do legs.
I think I would definitely like I wouldn't train as hard as I do, like to failure all the time, because like
No,
if you train hard, like you pretty much feel like shit all the time.
all the
Something
time, dude.
on you should feel like complete ass, and it's usually a couple different body areas at the same time all the time.
Then it's
There's
just I finish, dude. I usually train in the morning after meal one or meal two. I go train and then I'm fucked for the rest of the day. I am like a worthless ball of mush for the rest of the day.
I know, like there's so it'll be like I will train to like keep some level of like athleticism, muscularity, but I
Yep.
will I will probably be in and out of the gym in no longer than an hour if I'm not doing cardio, which I'll have to do cardio at home, and yeah, just feel better. Just like let my joints feel better. Probably
I would
train
just
three
be
to four times a
comfortable.
week.
The whole idea that comes to mind when I think about this, like being retired from competitive bodybuilding, is just comfortability and just whatever the fuck I want. I will never train legs because everything in my lower body takes an absolute beating, like any of us do. Like if you're training your legs to have like impressive stage competitive legs, and I'm not complaining, but especially as someone that was taller, like I think that's just there's just more room to fill out to make it look like you have good legs. I would never do any of this again.
Yeah, I
I
mean my
think I
legs
could
have been swollen
probably
for
forever,
like
dude. My
8 years.
knees, my hips, dude, like my glutes are forever beat to shit. Like, I bend over to tie my shoes depending on what time of the year it is and how heavy I am, and it's just like a complete mess. Um, I honestly think that I could probably like just ride a bike a couple of times a week, whether it was like stationary or a natural bike, and my legs would hang around like more than like what do I need big legs for in real life? Like I don't. Um, I mean, I would still want to keep like some level of muscularity, like to my arms and shoulders, so that I look good on the beach, that I look presentable to my lady when I take my clothes off. But I wouldn't train anything like the way that I train now. I won't. I won't train. I will probably train like we talked about, almost like circuit style, where I will probably do a bro split and I'll pick one body part a day. I'll go in and in circuit Milos giant set style, do it all in 45 minutes and then get the hell out of there and go live my life.
Yeah, I'd probably like not really follow written workouts at all.
No,
just
never. I
just
absolutely won't. I can
yeah.
say
Not,
definitively I won't. In terms of goals, I definitely want to look the part. I don't want to just be someone that like spent decades like obsessing over building an impressive physique and then like let it all go to shit like you see with some people. I still want to look above, especially what the current like average male standard is. Like, oh my God, go to the beach or go to Walmart or something, and most American men are just fat slobs. It's disgusting.
it's
So
crazy.
it won't be difficult to maintain a standard above that, but I want to look good and I want to be able to say, like, oh, I used to be a competitive bodybuilder and not have people like floored and confused by that. Like, you should be able to say that and people be like, yeah, I see it. I see how that could be.
Yeah, I think I'll be like aggressively healthy too. To like,
Oh, I can't wait to like downsize, and I'll
yeah,
probably hit the cardio pretty hard to try to get in better like fitness shape, you know?
yep, yeah. I'm definitely gonna just really devote like a lot of effort into just being healthy to kind of
Yeah.
make up lost time.
Yeah. Being able to breathe would be great.
Yeah, it would.
Just awesome. You know, like get through a meal and like not have your lady look over at you and be like, are you fucking okay? Because you're breathing like you just ran a marathon.
You're
And all you
sweating,
did
dude.
was just sit there and eat food. So
Yeah,
similar question, different context though. So this guy asks, how different would you guys train if you were bodybuilding without actually competing, but you still wanted to be huge? So we can't just say like, oh, I wouldn't train like the goal, I guess, is to still look like a bodybuilder, but he maybe is never getting on stage. Would you
I
train any
suppose.
differently than you would now?
No, no, I would train
I
the
still
same.
wouldn't do my legs that hard.
Really?
Just
Oh, just
honestly.
maybe he's like kind
I
of
would
wondering
train
about
them.
like,
I would train them. But if
yeah,
like
so
you
like
just wanted
not
to be big at the mall, I'm not doing the stuff I've been doing for legs.
no, okay. So he's talking about just like look like a freak in public.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not deadlifting.
Yeah, probably like less leg training and
Definitely.
because if you make certain body parts like obnoxiously large, then you look like better because it's kind of smoke and mirrors, right? So
Oh, 100%. I would try to make like my lats and my delts really big for
yeah,
sure.
cap the belts out for sure.
Just so you looked like you walked around like and took up a lot of space.
Yeah,
I probably wouldn't train my upper body much differently, but I would train my legs totally differently, dude. I would probably go in and do like 10 sets 10 sets of extensions and like 10 sets of seated ham curls and then leave.
like yeah, just machine work.
Yeah. I would probably train my calves pretty good so that it like in shorts on the beach, it would look like I maybe was hiding some legs under there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've it's a weird one because I can't even put myself into that thought process. But yeah, I guess I'd train pretty similar. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like what the difference would be. And I guess then like the difference of doing it, that's the definition of truly doing it for yourself versus like as competitors, we say we're doing it for ourselves, but we're all kind of chasing the criteria or what a judge would tell us, where it's
Yeah,
like we want symmetry, right? Whereas I guess the difference would be if you were just going to be a freak, like if you wanted to, you could do arms 4 times a week and just have your arms be like your most dominant body part or something like that. For
yeah.
me,
I
I
mean,
would probably way overtrain. Not that I'm not doing that now, but I still am trying to balance everything. I would probably overtrain my delts, I think, because I have always, I guess maybe because they weren't big naturally, and I was like kind of narrow for my frame naturally. I always have looked at like a big round set of shoulders. Like if a guy wore like a
oh yeah.
somewhat tight t-shirt and then just had like billowing shoulders out of it, it was like a cool look.
Oh, for sure. I remember feeling the same way. Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm probably right there with you. I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
really figure that one out.
Yeah. What are your three favorite exercises to do, regardless of body part effectiveness, etc.? So just pure enjoyment.
Good question.
Yeah.
Any pretty much any squat pattern just really gets me going. I would probably say a hack or a Smith squat would be like my favorite.
Oh, that's
Love,
number one. Okay.
yeah, love going. Yeah, that's number one for sure.
Okay.
That's like my highlight of my week is like my one set of a squat pattern.
Okay. All right.
Um, I would say an incline or a barbell
Hmm.
press. Yeah,
Are you a strong presser?
not at all.
Oh, really? And you still enjoy it? Because I'm
Yeah,
not at all, and I hate it.
yeah, I'm not. I mean, I've gotten stronger. Like I think
Sure.
the at the end of this rebound, I did like 145 for like
Yeah, I saw
10.
you slinging some fucking big dumbbells. Yeah, yes, you are. Yes. If I could incline 140s or 150s, I would enjoy it as well.
Well, I think that's maybe I used to be weaker at it, but it's like that,
Sure.
like kind of, and my chest was always my shit body part. So, and that's
Hmm.
like kind of nerve wracking because it's free weight. So it's like,
Oh
it
yeah.
kind of, you got to really get dialed
Oh, you got
before.
to bring it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I would say that. Um, this is a weird one, but like, I really love fucking my adductors up, like just
That is a
destroying
weird
them.
one, but I get it.
But yeah, a juicy ass adductor pump.
You
Love it.
feel like a crazy pump in there, and then it just feels like your legs are swole more than
You,
some of the other like
yeah.
like way more than like a hamstring or a glute pump or whatever. Like you feel like you got some big, like you said, juicy legs. If your adductors like they're grinding together when you walk and shit, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's actually not that weird. I don't think the exercise itself is that much fun, but I like the result.
Yeah,
Um,
love that pump. So that's my three, I think.
I haven't done them in years, and I don't know that I'll ever do them again. But in terms of like peak enjoyment and the way that I used to look forward to it, all right, actually, let me go in order. I would say number one is a deadlift from the floor, barbell
Okay.
deadlift from the
I
floor,
like it.
like
Yeah.
dead stop. Whether and it's either I could either do conventional with my feet real close, or and like bend at the knees and almost squat it up, or like I loved like an RDL too, where your back just ends up parallel to the floor and you hinge away from it. Love it, love that. It's just like pure will, like it's just you against fucking gravity. It's awesome. I love it.
Love that. Yeah.
Um, I would say number two is what I was going to say before. Haven't done them in years, probably won't ever do them again. But I don't know if even deadlifts from the floor ever made my ego feel as powerful as when I was like a big barbell squatter.
So fun, man. That's just
Dude.
putting heavy weight on your back and just seeing what can happen. It's a lot of fun, man.
And, you know, everyone that's listening to this knows a power lifter or a strong man or a football player or somebody that's done a crazy weight or crazier shit than what I've done. No doubt about it. I wasn't breaking any records or anything like that. But at the time, and for my surrounding environment, I had a period that I felt like I was like the big dick swinger for barbell back squatting. And so for my ego at the time, it was awesome, dude. Like I would just feel like I was the man when it was leg day. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Um, so there's not many things, and that's man, fuck, that's probably 10 years ago that I was in that mode. And to be totally honest, in terms of enjoyment in the gym, there's not many things that have brought me anything close to that.
Yeah, dude. I
Like
had
I
like a
can remember one time, dude, I can remember specifically one time being away at college and then coming home to my home like my hometown's retro that had just opened. So it was like flooded with everyone from town, like, you know, people that I went to high school with that were in college and come home the way that I did, people that were older, people that were like everyone from the town, it felt like was in this gym. And I can remember doing 500 for 12
Jesus
at like
Christ.
peak, like, you know, it was like 5:30 after everyone had gotten off from work, and I'm screaming my head off with every rep in the gym, like just total douchebag, right? But and I can remember my nose bleeding the last couple reps and shit. And it was just awesome. Like there's not many gym memories that I have that are better than that, dude. I remember I was wearing a
Yeah.
yellow, like the original
Animal.
yellow animal shirt, and it just pouring out of my nose from like 9 to 12 or whatever it was rep wise.
Yeah.
Um, and for people that are wondering, yes, it was 500 because I put two and a halves on the end of 5 plates to make sure it was an even five. Um, yeah, and that shit was the best. Like you just felt because I can even people that didn't respect it or know what was going on, like had to like stop what they were doing and look over at you and be like, Jesus Christ, like chill out, dude. Like this is too much. And I just loved it. I loved every second of it. Um
I can
so
really resonate with that, man. Like there was,
yeah, it
I
was the
had a
best.
period of time like that too. And
Yeah.
I realized the other day I did a set of squats at the end of my leg workout, and I realized like those days are over.
Bro,
like,
so over, dude.
like
I am sitting here telling that story like the guy in his that as 39 years old at the local bar still wearing his varsity football jacket.
straight up, bro. Yeah. None of that.
Uh that's long gone, dude. That's a never will happen again type situation. I will probably never put that bar naked across my back ever again. You know what I mean? Like it's done. I can't even really Smith squat because I just don't have the, if I would really need to improve my shoulder mobility for it.
Shoulder
And I'd
mobility.
probably have to be quite a bit lighter, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um and then third, man, um you know what? I'm just gonna kind of cheat and put two in here, but there I gave you two barbells. I have two machines that I really love. I love either the Strive or Prime Extreme Row, the one that you're like laying prone, chest down on it. And I love the Prime or Strive like plate loaded shoulder press, like overhead military press. I love it. I love it more than any other overhead press.
We've
And
got
more than any other and more than any other chest press as well. I love how that thing feels. Um, so those I'm sneaking four in, but those are my big four.
yeah,
Those
man.
last
The
two are two that I still do, that I do currently, my two favorite current ones, and then the other two are from a lifetime ago that a person that no longer exists.
man, I the barbell thing, it's like that cold, heavy ass steel, just
Oh
like
my
it's
God, dude. I can remember one of my friends that was, I remember doing a single like a fucking idiot one time in that
ugh,
same gym. I think it was either, and this is on YouTube. Somebody can go find this. It might be 605 or maybe so 585. It might have been, yeah, 635 maybe or something heavy. And I can, I used to like really like grind the bar into my back. And one of my friends was there and just happened to watch. And after weeks later, I saw him. We got together and watched football or something. And he was like, "Bro, I have to ask you about like the way that you squat." I'm like, "Yeah, whatever you want." And he was like, "I watched the like." He's like, "When I squat, I just like get in and try to like place it where it's going to be and then I go." Like he's like, "It almost looked like you like enjoyed the pain of like grinding this bar into your back. Like what's the deal with that?" And I was just like, dude, I can't explain it to you. Like it was just the best, dude. I would get home and I would do that heavy squatting and I'd go home and shower. And I can remember every time I'd make sure it was almost like a badge of honor. I'd look back like in the mirror and there'd be a bruise across my traps where the bar was.
crazy.
And it's like, fuck yeah, dude. And it's just
That's
that
awesome.
person's long gone.
Those memories are great, though, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good times. I did
Um,
this I did the other day was like 315. I was like, yeah, fuck.
Bro, that's nice. That too, like it's you got to think too. You're like we said, you're way better at training now. So like those sets that I'm talking about, dude, I'm just moving weight. Like I'm
A to
literally,
B.
bro, I'm getting as low as I can, and I'm springboarding my fucking knee tendons with everything that I got to try to get this shit up because I could, dude. At 22, you could do
I
that.
know.
Like
I know.
fuck, at 33, you're lucky if it doesn't shoot through the front of your kneecap.
Yeah, it was scary.
All right. Maybe one more here.
Cool.
Actually, you have a couple? You have one or two?
I had one over ways of getting better at utilizing, tracking your training, tricks or any,
Okay.
thing that, get
I-
basically get better at it if you suck at it.
So actually tracking, I've done this like a million ways, and I always come back to I started with a physical logbook, and I honestly just think it's impractical. I feel like at this point, with where technology is and everyone's on their phone, everyone has their phone, whether for music or whatever else, it feels performative to have a physical logbook at this point. Like, unless you're like a real OG, like when I see young kids and they have their sweatpants tucked into their high socks and they have, long hair and a hat over it, like they're Sam Sulik, and then they take out a physical logbook and it looks like a fucking ancient text from Harry Potter or something. I'm like, this is just completely performative. This is silly. I use the Notes app on my phone, and I'll
So
pull it up right now. I don't know if anyone will be able to see this on the camera, but it's very, very basic. I will just label what I'm doing. And for the most part in my training, I notice this now. This might be different for people. For the most part, I would say 90% of the time, I'm picking a weight and I'm sticking with that same weight throughout all my working sets. So, for example, I don't know if people can see this. Can you see that?
yeah, yep.
So like I'll have, like, for example, lateral raise, and then it's 95 is the weight, and then I just get less sets as I go down, right? And that's where I failed, and um, that's it. So I used to do something similar to this, but I would have the prior week's performance, and then underneath it I would write current week's performance, or even at a certain time I would track, like it would say lateral raise week 1, week 2,
Yeah,
week 3,
some
week
way
4, week
engineering.
5, right? Where I was tracking, like, and I used to do kind of like 5 or 6 week mesocycles and then deload and the whole 9 yards, right? All this stuff. So I would have all 5 weeks of a particular exercise, one right after the other. And it's pretty basic. I mean, one of the few caveats that I have, or little additional things, is I will leave notes for myself. I don't know if people can see this. I will leave notes for myself, like how I have a machine set up,
Yeah,
like where the settings are. Like,
setting.
okay,
Yeah,
chest on setting 3,
it's
seat
important.
on setting 4, whatever, right? So that it's just the same every time. But I am almost at a loss for how to answer this. I think it's like pretty straightforward, no?
It's very straightforward. It's just like, how do you get yourself to follow your diet? You just do it. You just.
How
Uh,
did you interpret it? How did you interpret the question?
it's one of my clients, so I feel like I make it pretty simple. I attach a Google Sheets document to,
Sure.
which is great, man, because in one row you put the movement, and then you can literally each column is a training session. So
Yeah.
you literally, on this training session, I can literally look a half inch to my left, and it's the last week's training performance. So I have
So
that
let me
easy.
let me ask you though. I have done exactly this for all my clients. And then at a certain point, I tried to do it for myself, and I realized, like, this is, as silly as it sounds, this is like more than I care to do while I'm training in the gym.
To me,
Like,
it's no different than what
the
you're doing, though.
I don't know. I feel like notes is just so free and simple. Like, there's not cells, and like I don't think that. So my take on it is, I don't love like the Sheets app or the Drive app on my phone. I feel like it's pretty choppy. Like, compare, like I sit down and as a coach, I'm doing all my stuff from a laptop and I think it all looks great. But then I realize most people are just pulling this up on their little screen on their phone, and I'm like, I probably wouldn't want to do this either, if I'm being honest. And
That's fair.
I'm on it in
It
terms
could
of
be
tracking all my stuff.
it could be a comfortability thing with like using Excel because I like came from that world and I'm like super
Yes.
comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't
It
know. To
sounds
me, it's
silly, I
like
know, but it
I
maybe
just
they
want
just need to track it in a different thing that's more simple.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely that's an option. Hell, go back to the legacy system and use the notebook, but
Use a notebook, dude.
find something that works for you. But
Yeah.
it's he asked about understanding the importance of it, and it's like,
Is this a
how
guy that
else
usually just is winging it or wants to like
he,
intuitively wants to wing it?
he's following a workout, but I as far as the weights go, he's having trouble, tracking. So whether it's from memory, which if you say you can loosely do that, but like
You
when you're
can't.
in the when you're in the woods of progression, like you're not going to remember it, and you can jot down a little
Bro, I
note.
trained just hours ago, and if I hadn't written it down like in the moment, I am not going to remember my performance on my third set of pullovers, which is my fifth exercise in. There's no way I'm going to remember how many I
No.
did.
So it's the only way to see that you're truly moving in the right direction. Gauging recoverability, giving the correct feedback for me, like I like to see that from a coaching standpoint. Are things moving in the direction I want them to? Are you getting stronger? Okay, maybe volume's too high. Are you getting weaker? Okay,
Right.
maybe or
Maybe
maybe
frequency is even too high or something.
yeah. I mean, I can pairing that data with the biofeedback that I'm receiving, over the feedback form. It's like I that is all working together. So,
Is
um,
this not to like dive just totally into this one individual guy, but is it like an older guy? Like older than us?
no, younger guy,
Oh,
trying to just like he's got a great physique, but he's just. I think the training approach has been pretty loose before now, and now it's like this is exactly what you're doing, um, which he has gotten away with. But to like take it,
you're not
to
always going to get away with it though.
that's it to ensure
The well is
progression.
going to dry up eventually.
Yeah, that's it, man. But
Yeah, not
yeah,
to. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate mostly with the sheets thing, but in terms of like the unwillingness or the lack of desire to track at all, I think is inexcusable. If
yeah,
you let the words come out of your mouth that you want to progress your physique or you'll do anything or you're all in or you say any of these things, you don't really mean it if you're not tracking your progress in the gym. Simple.
yeah, I mean, I agree. It's leaving progress on the table whether you think so or not. It's just vital. And
Well, it's just
unless we,
subjective. That's the truth. That's an objective truth.
yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I agree. We've covered this before. Like the only exceptions to this was if you were just like an unbelievably advanced individual, or like you literally just walked to the gym. But outside
Right.
of that, if you're trying to improve,
No, like if
it's
you're trying to level, like you've, your new gains have expired and you're truly interested or committed in leveling up from where, a lackluster effort in tracking or paying attention to your actual performance has gotten you, you need to be tracking your training. Now, is there a compromise to be made with like, you're going to track these four movements and then for triceps and rear delts, you can kind of every week just go in and make sure you train to failure. Like I've had to have that conversation with people because I know that there are some people for whatever reason, they just are totally opposed to tracking. But man, in some sense, like it would be like saying that you're trying to save money and you don't have a written budget or you never check your bank statement. It's like, what the fuck?
right, right. Yeah, it's
Like
no
it's
different than any
nonsensical.
other part of your plan, really.
No. Right. It would be like saying I'm trying to lose weight. And then it's like, well, how much are you eating? I don't know. How
Uh,
much cardio are you doing? No clue.
just going off
Steps?
how,
Not a clue in the world.
right? Yeah, it's a variable
Crazy.
that
Crazy
can
to
be
think that.
controlled
Not
to
to shit on
withstand.
this guy. Not to shit on him, but to get
No, no,
the
it's
point across.
he wanted to know what would make him prioritize it, and hearing these things would be helpful. And
Yeah.
it's a conversation that I can have anytime with anyone. But it's this that's the bottom line.
Yeah. No, it's you said he's got a good physique. This is someone that's interested enough to he's hired a coach. He's reaching out trying to get more information. Man, just track your stuff. This is like you got to assure that you're getting these little wins on a daily and weekly basis so that you can keep getting better. That's all. So whether it's with a physical book, an app, whatever the case is, you got to have some kind of tangible way of knowing for sure.
I,
Um,
I still think the Sheets app is easy.
that's okay. That's all right. There's some of us are simpletons, man. Some of us are. I'm like borderline Neanderthal when it
I
comes to
feel
the
like if you
technology.
saw it and I showed you what I do, you'd be like, "That's fucking simple."
Bro, I do it. I do it for people. And I have people that follow it. And I'm like, I see that they've inputted their stuff for fucking every movement for 6 months. And then I go and review it. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like this person really is on top of it. I could never, if I was coaching me, I would be sick of my shit.
That's hilarious. Same though.
Okay, last one. Do you guys ever program pull ups or dips? If so, body weight, assisted, weighted, etc.
Yeah, I like a dip movement. Typically, I'll prescribe a dip machine though.
I don't love pull ups personally.
I think pull-ups are a pretty shit movement. You'll really work your brachioradialis and get really juicy biceps and like kind of maybe potentially hit your back if you're not using straps. Probably not really at all.
I
Um,
think if you're like an athlete or something, or something outside of like the goal just being 100% hypertrophy return, there could be applications other than hypertrophy, like overhead shoulder stability or spinal stability, different
Mobility, yeah,
health, shoulder health in general. But in terms of like building a back, I know like there's a faction of people that'll say like, fucking, I only did 20 sets of pull-ups every back day and this is how I look. Like, okay, that's fine, but that's not most of us. So I'm with you. I don't think it's a great movement. I have myself, and I've recommended to clients before, if you have like an assisted pull-up machine, it can be a decent movement. But in terms of like just raw pull-ups, I think it's a pretty shit move. I think there's just so much going on that you can't possibly be getting as much out of your back as you'd like.
yeah. I
Um,
use an assisted pull-up like a lat pull-down. It's the same movement.
sure. And then dips, yeah, I would prefer a machine for me. Um, I you know what? I think a lot of times I think body weight dips, and then like a lot of times then people end up putting plates added to them, like it like hangs like a big sack underneath them almost, right? I think a lot of times that ends up almost just being like a very, very risky front delt press. And like we have so many other options that are better and safer.
Yeah, it's unstable. It's risky. It's a maybe an okay stimulus versus you could use something extremely stable, low risk, and get an amazing stimulus
I
for the
feel like
muscle.
something's gonna fucking tear anytime
Yeah,
I've done
like
them.
you ever put plates around one of those fucking chains and then have to dip down, and
It's
it's a
the
pain in the
worst, bro.
ass.
It's the
Pain in the-
worst. No, it's the worst. But
I
then
will use.
meanwhile, like we have like a really good, like the old school flex leverage dip machine in our gym. Awesome
Yeah,
movement. Like it's got
awesome.
the thing that you can tuck your feet underneath in front so that you can fucking ground yourself.
Yeah,
And man, like most of the big guys that you see in, they can move some heavy weights, and it's like a really good compound movement for your upper body. But um like the free swing, like both of these movements mentioned, if you're doing them um like as like a body weight or like free swinging movement, they're very loose and swingy to me. Like there's just not a lot of stability, so I don't think about either of them being great.
yeah. Stability is kind of one of the pieces of the recipe for hypertrophy. It's huge. Stability is going to increase output, which is going to increase potential hypertrophy. So these kind of like movements that have kind of a uh, you know an emotional kind of attachment to because
Yeah.
they're enjoyable. It's just like probably not the best for your progress, but if you do enjoy them, just do them safely. And
Yes.
um, that's yeah. I mean, pull ups can't. I do like the point about pull ups. They can be a great warm up for like a pressing day in the shoulder joint.
Mm, mm.
Um, yeah, like get on the
I like
assisted
that.
up and rip like 2 sets of 20 with 100 pounds of
Mm.
assistance or something. And man, like if you have like kind of tightness in there for pressing days, it can feel really good.
I like that. I actually have a client, I think that comes to mind that I'm going to recommend that to as soon as we get off of this. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I don't have a ton else to add to that one. I think, like you said, we talked earlier. If you desperately enjoy, like, if half of your enjoyment for the day is going to be doing one of these movements, like, do it. I probably wouldn't make it like a main thing. Like, I wouldn't make pull-ups my main upper back movement. I'd want something else for sure. I can promise you the majority of my clients that have been with me any appreciable amount of time are completely sick of hearing me say stability equals output. So I think a lot of times, if there's someone that has a weak body part, a lot of times it could be improved with greater stability. A lot of times it's because people insist on doing movements that they are emotionally attached to, like pull-ups or dips. And it's like, there's just better options, point blank. If we're talking straight bodybuilding, like, you really want to improve the muscularity of this body part for no other reason, like, I think there's better movements. And with
Yeah, I
that,
mean,
I think oh, go ahead.
I was just saying your setup, it's crucial, right? It's like what you're doing and what order you're doing them. It all
Yeah.
matters. So
Yeah.
pick the things that make sense.
That's it. All right, guys. I think that's another good training episode. We'll wrap that one there. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. It seemed like most of the people that listened enjoy the topic specific episodes. So if that's the case, let us know. We'll keep that rolling. I'll put question box out this upcoming Sunday. So let us know what topics that you want to hear us discuss. And for Austin Brown, I'm Joseph Percher. Until next time, we are out.